All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good, I guess, still morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co creator of Movers and Shakers of Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us for this week in review, the show that gives you the rundown of a lot of the things that are going on in the world of entertainment. Could be sports, could be film and television, could be, business as well, as long as it falls within the wheelhouse of entertainment, theater, what have you. We cover it. If it's something that like to be kept up to date on, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, so that way you can also be caught up on the goings on in the world of entertainment. But as always, I will not be alone. I'll be talking to talk about a lot of the news bits that we will be discussing this week. So I want to introduce my co-host, none other than Spillman, aka Spills. Let me bring him on now. What's going on, sir?
Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? How's it going? I'm happy to see you again for another week. It's firecracker week coming up, so please be careful with your firecrackers. Light light and release. Remember that. Don't be a just Pierre Paul. Don't be a Pierre Paul, ladies and gentlemen. Don't blow your fingers off. It's not good.
Oh man, 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 man. But with that out of the way, let's hop into our news bits. And unfortunately, uh, to start off our show, we're going to be talking about a couple of folks that did pass over the course of this week. We did have confirmation of Julian Sands, who I'm sure many folks remember from Warlock. However, he was also in Arachnophobia, among many other films as well, and of course the great Alan Arkin also passed away this week. So thoughts spills of the two gentlemen that passed this week.
So, always condolences to their families. We love y'all. We're sad to see you go. I'm a bigger fan of Alan Arkin than I am Julian Sands. I really loved Alan Arkin in the movie Little Miss Sunshine. He was terrific in that. He was
Absolutely,
living a
yeah.
life I hope to live as an old man once I get old enough. But hey, I'm gonna do hard drugs because I don't care. Because I'm an old man, I'm gonna die anyway. Let's have some fun at least with it. So, that was hilarious. His character in that, and then he's great in other movies. Julian Sands is a great actor. It's sad to see him go, but I just love their work. Really happy with their work, and I hope to, you know, enjoy it for many more years. How about you, Brandon? How do you feel about them?
Well, I was gonna say, just as you said, they have done a lot, in the world of film and well, I'm just saying, just in terms of their filmography, there's so much that they have accomplished, thus far, and memorable roles. I mean, just as you said, Alan Arkin with Little Miss Sunshine, but I mean, he's done far more than that. When if I'm thinking of Argo as well,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
he's a terrific iconic talent in the world of acting. So to not have that talent with us anymore, is uh, you know uh, a bump, a downer. But again, just as you say, condolences to his to his family, to his friends, and you hate to have folks pass away. He was, from what I understand, he was 89. So, in the context of what we have in our current landscape, with the resources that are available to folks, in terms of where we've advanced with our medicine. 89 is not a a short-lived life. It is
Oh yeah. Young in there.
a, a full life. At least it's not what we see, in other circumstances where we have folks that passed away in their 40s and their 30s, and it's like so tragic because they still it still feels like they. And it's not to say that Alan, didn't. I'm sure had far more to share with us in terms of his talent as an actor. Is just very tragic when we see it when it's either folks that are close to our age, because it's so unusual to see that happen where folks
Hmm.
are passing away at in their 30s and their 40s, or even earlier than that if they're younger than us. It's been happening as well. So um and then speaking of Julian Sands, uh Julian Sands, in terms of his body of work as well. As I said, I already had mentioned, Warlock, and how he was able to, make that such an iconic, role. And with other, villains that he's played, he just has there, they're just actors that have that ability to really tap into something where, even though they may, it's very easy for actors to be thrown into niches or specific tropes. they still provide they still provide some magic in turn, despite perhaps that limitation. Because I feel like because he played bad guys so well, a lot of times he got cast as bad guys. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's been in roles where he hasn't been a bad guy, and he's been great in those roles too. But it's just that we have seen him, a lot of the roles that people attribute him to. Oftentimes have been those villainous parts, and it's because he plays them so well. So uh, shame to have both of them pass away, and especially with Sands under the circumstances, because there was a while where there was a search ongoing in order to see if he was still alive, because from what I understand, um he actually had gone on a hike
Yeah.
somewhere.
He was gone for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
he was
crazy.
gone for a couple of months, and it had just been confirmed, this week. Unfortunately, that his remains have been found. So, condolences, to the friends and family of both actors, uh, and yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else to add here.
No, just condolences to the family. Be careful when you're hiking. Get one of those brand new Apple Watches or the new Apple phone that you can talk to a satellite in case you get in trouble. That's an advertisement that we're not getting paid for, ladies and gentlemen. But still, we got to be careful out there in the wild tundra.
For sure, for sure. All right. So switching gears to our next story, and that's getting into the bombshell that happened over this week. And I know we talk, sports here, but we had a good deal of layoffs that happened with ESPN. If you have any fans there that follow a lot of the reporters that we see every morning or every afternoon, and a lot of the um, news cycle that they have on a given on a given day. Many of them have unfortunately been laid off, and I'm gonna pull up the list. But I don't pull up the list. What are your initial impressions, Bill?
Well, I will say that I'm happy with my Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh my
We
gosh.
signed a Joker stopper. We definitely signed a Joker stopper, which we needed to do. Oh no, we're on ESPN. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I've
Oh my
already
God.
started on the right thing, but the wrong thing.
You
Okay, so we're
ready?
on to do something different.
You were
All
ready
right,
for it.
I was
Go ahead.
ready to talk
It's
good
all
about my
good.
Lakers,
It's
ladies
all
and
good.
gentlemen. Okay, so um, with the layoffs at ESPN, we all know what they're getting ready for. They're getting ready for that bad man to come and make some money for them. Shannon Sharp, they're gonna make a lot of money with him. So they just started letting go of the loose pieces. None of the people that they got rid of are superstars on the network. They don't drive content. I'm sad to see some of them go. I think it said I think I saw Jeff Van Gundy, but I'd be surprised if it was Jeff Van Gundy. But you know, Jeff Van Gundy was gone. Jalen Rose, famously, Max Kellerman, which is crazy. Max Kellerman got fired for the replacement a- as the replacement by the person that he was like. It was he got fired. Like it's like if you married somebody and divorced them, and then the person that you got married to, like I don't know. It's very confusing. But Max is gone, and I think that ESPN needs to do it. They haven't had their real heyday in a long time. Um, they need to do better with putting on, they need to do better with putting on talent, and having content. I think that they've really stopped really having memorable. Even the commercials are not even memorable for ESPN. It used to be a whole thing, and now it doesn't feel the same. Maybe we're old. Maybe we're old. I don't know. What do you think about the ESPN layoffs, Brandon? So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Layoffs. Scroll it. Use two fingers. Yep. So here's the list. As we can see, um, we've got Keyshawn. Yeah, Jeff Van Gundy did get fired. I thought so. That's crazy. Susie Colbert. That's kind of sad. Steve Young is kind of crazy. But I guess if Jeff Van Gundy's gone, who's going to do their ESPN the basketball games? That'll be interesting. How do you feel about that? Do you think that it's you know I don't know. Ninkovich, he's famous because he's got a funny name, but nobody on this list is somebody that like. Okay, we can't hear you, bro. You're totally muted. I'm sorry. So we're gonna keep
Hold
talking
on, here we
until.
go. Here we go.
Okay, here we
So I
go.
was
All
muted
right,
for a
yeah,
second.
go
I
for it.
apologize. But as you can see on the list, we do have, just as Spillman was mentioning, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, Susie Colbert, Chris, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name, man, but Chelios, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young. Wow, like all the folks that are here, because just as you said, you were commenting on Jeff Van Gundy and him, being a staple with the NBA. Just initial impressions, it's crazy to see, the names that we have on this list because, I feel like they all do, a decent job in terms of, what they bring to the table when they, are on television and, giving their take on a given subject. Um, However, in thinking of the business side of it, of for anyone who's not aware out there, of what's been going down with Disney and all the, the uh, strategies have been used in order to cut costs. If I'm picturing the change in management that Disney, had, and that change of management, what they have been doing in order to I guess what you can say is streamline a lot of things and to cut off a lot of things that they may feel that is not bringing in the investment that that they are putting forth in terms of uh, what they are paying with a lot of the salaries or costs or what have you. It's unfortunate because in my opinion, we have some terrific folks that are on this list, but perhaps there's something else that we're not privy to in terms of viewage or other metrics that was shared that allowed them to come to that decision that the group of folks that we have listed here needed to go, versus some of the other folks that we still have that are um, on the on their current lineup that they have. I,
Yeah,
like I said, they needed they it wasn't a secret that Disney, and like I said, if you guys aren't aware of that, Disney owns ESPN, so they have been trying to find ways to cut a lot of costs in terms of all facets of their revenue streams, wherever they're getting it from, whether it's from ESPN, whether it's from uh, Marvel, because there's a component with that that's been interesting recently, but I'm not going to get into it today. I'll save it for another show that deals with one of their highly anticipated, let's say, MCU films that recently is allegedly has happened with their casting that has uh, gone a little wayward because of discrepancy with an agreement with salaries for some actors with one of those
Hmm.
MCU films, where I understand that folks that we thought were in the running for a given role now are no longer in the running because Disney wasn't willing to shell out all that money to order to keep them in those said roles. So that component of it we know. Is just that it's unfortunate that the hammer has come down on the list of people that we see here. Because, like I said, there are a lot of individuals here on this list that I feel they brought plenty to the table, and I'm sure they'll find a home elsewhere because they are supreme talents in terms of their expertise, whether it's with football, whether it's with basketball. Jeff Van Gundy, terrific coach. I feel he's a highly underrated reporter and commentator. Whether we're talking about Jalen Rose, his insight as someone who was a former player. He's not someone who sugarcoats a lot of things. He tells things how they are, which I appreciate a lot. Keyshawn Johnson, the same thing. And if we're going, down the line, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, like I said, I'm just giving examples here, but we have, some terrific folks here, and it's crazy to see that they, ended up on a chopping block. But I believe that they will find a home, elsewhere. Um, but you never want to see folks that you feel that are, supremely capable, and you felt in watching it that they brought quite a bit to the table, um uh receive end up on the chopping block in terms of their employment. But did you have any last thoughts before we move on, because I know you want to really get into those trade transactions that have been happening this summer?
I just want to say that Shannon is probably calling people like Jeff Van Gundy and Steve Young and telling them, like they said after the Red Wedding, I want them to know it was me. Tell them it was me. I've
Those
got them all. Yeah, so that's all I got. Sad for them, but they'll probably find jobs. Most of those people because they're
for
famous.
sure. For sure. I have no
Yeah,
doubt. Um, all right, so I'll give the floor back to you. I know you really wanted to get into some of those trades, so and some of those contracts that
those
that that
contracts.
got extended. So go
Yeah.
ahead. The floor is
Uh,
yours.
all right, I'm gonna say the first and foremost, the biggest, obviously the most obvious one that was going to happen was the Warriors re-signed Draymond for $100 million. We saw that was going to happen when he had that tiff with Jordan Poole last year, and then they shipped him out at the end of this year. So obviously they was going to pay Draymond and keep him around. You wouldn't make that move otherwise. Um, I also like I said, the Lakers. We re-signed Rui Hachimura. Thanks, Wizards fans. I'm watching y'all. We re-signed Rui. We signed Jackson Halls from the Pelicans. He's a big, and we need some big bodies because Mo Bamba was stealing when he got traded to us. He's been stealing. He don't play basketball. He just be tall. Um, who else got signed that was big? Oh, did you see Dame Lillard requested a trade today? He said, I'm getting out of here. Get me out of this place. They're not trying to play with me.
I did, but again, a lot. And thinking of Damian Lillard, the writing was on the wall with that because he had
Oh, for
already
sure.
specified that that he didn't want to play with he didn't want to be in a situation in which they were continuing to develop young talent. He wanted to win right now. And it's understandable. He's been very loyal, to that franchise. And, it's about time that he's really, pushing forward to submit. And it's not to say that he doesn't really, that he needs to submit his legacy more, but out of all the things that he has accomplished thus far in his career, I feel like that's the only thing that he hasn't done yet. Similar to Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul has done pretty much everything that you can do to have a Hall of Fame career. The only thing that's missing off their resume is a championship. So,
No chip, yeah. And I still blame David Stern for that. Rest in peace to David Stern.
oh
But
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
really screwed
He's
us
about to
on
talk
that
about the
one, buddy.
Lakers situation, right?
We could have had him and Dwight in their primes, bro. With Kobe would have never tore his ACL. I mean, his Achilles, if that would have happened. I'm really still mad about that. So I'm happy y'all got Chris Paul, but y'all not gonna win no chip with Chris Paul. I'm telling you. So I don't know.
I mean, there were a lot of signings that happened here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll
The
pull it up
Kuzma
here.
re-signed. Kuzma re-signed.
Yeah, we had
The Lakers signed. What's his name from the Heat? We signed. What's his name from the Heat? Gabe Vincent, I think.
yeah.
We signed Gabe Vincent. We signed. We've
But
been
just
making some
going down the list, I
moves.
mean, we have Kyrie Irving, and this is,
Yeah,
shout
he
out to
stayed.
basketball forever that actually has all of this in one place. But we have Kyrie Irving, who, as you guys know, is with the Dallas Mavericks. He had a 3-year deal for 126 million. Um, going further down, we have Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, that one has been interesting because, as many of in his college career, he played for Memphis, and now he's actually playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. So, you know, 2 years,
That's a good move.
yeah, 2 years, 6.5 million. I feel like that's a kind of insurance related, component. Considering what's going on with Morant, that they actually have like
Hmm.
a solid guard in that position. And then, once Morant comes back, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Perhaps they'll bump over Morant over to shooting guard, because let's be honest, he really is more of a scorer than, I mean, he is a distributor, but he is a capable scorer as well. So I feel like he would
Yeah.
still be able to thrive even if he doesn't have the ball in his hand. So perhaps having him, they may try to figure that out. Maybe having Rose as a shooting guard, but honestly, if they do have both of them on the floor, I picture that he might get bumped to the two. I don't know what your thoughts on that before I continue down some of the other deals that have happened.
I doubt that at this point in his career he's going to be seeing major minutes for them. But I think that him being in that locker room with those boys,
Yes, for
because
sure, for
he's a
sure,
former MVP. He knows what it takes to get to the top.
for
He's
sure,
also dealt with adversity in his
for
career, and
sure,
he's
for
come
sure. That's
back
a
from
good
that.
point.
So I think that is really why they signed him, is because he needs
That's a
to
good point.
do the things that they need.
Yeah, he
So
needs somebody to
got to
kind
have
of
that
ground him.
mentorship.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
need some more
yeah,
veteran leadership in that locker room. No, I ain't
yeah.
even
That's
think
why
about
they
that. You're
keep.
absolutely right.
Yeah,
And
that's why they
then
kept like.
go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and then the other component of that we have in terms of transactions that have happened. Shout out to Fred Van Vliet.
Oh yeah, he got that
So three
bag.
years, $130 million,
A bag.
which is
I wouldn't
unheard
have
of.
paid
This
it.
is the largest
Yeah.
contract for any undrafted player in NBA history. So shout out to him that he was able to, accomplish that feat. I mean, dude can ball, so I give props where props are due. I just didn't perceive that he would be able to, that he would be able to. You would have a player that's undrafted, coming in, being able to get a contract at some point, in their career with something like that. So, but let me see if there are any other. There were a couple of others that have, as you already mentioned, you have Draymond Green. Happy to see that they are able to keep that trio together.
Hey, you need to. If you
Yeah,
want to be a successful big time franchise, this is what the Lakers know to do. When we get real time stars, we don't just ship them out for nobodies. We don't just not re-sign them. Like that man won y'all 4 championships, 4 of them things. You
yeah.
have to put him in the position to make money with y'all because he's made y'all so much more money than y'all ever could pay him. So
Yeah,
to
for
me,
sure,
that's
for
a no
sure,
brainer.
for sure. And I think you mentioned Gabe Vincent before. I think
Gabe Vincent signed with the Lakers.
yeah, he
Yeah.
signed with the Lakers, so 3 years.
That's right.
33 million.
Rich Paul was doing his thing. He getting people on us, and he's getting people like Fred VanVleet hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what I'm talking about. Lakers, 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 Lakers.
Yeah, but I was
Mm,
saying
mm,
similarly. I know you brought up a point
mm.
just now of teams that are looking to maintain the, I guess you can say the group or the core of players that they have to continue to have opportunities to go after titles. We have another example of that with Chris Middleton. He got a three
Mm-hmm.
years for 102 million with the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't really see the Milwaukee Bucks, even though they have Greek Freak there, I don't see them getting, having any continued success. Similarly to what we had with the Warriors and with Green, if Middleton is not on the Bucks. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like he is like key to that core that they have there, with the group that have had an opportunity to contend for titles.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that he's a big part of what they do. He's a great shooter. He spaces the floor. I think that really what they miss is that they did not re-sign PJ Tucker after that championship season. And PJ is like one of those guys like when Leon Poe left and James Posey left the Celtics after they won their first chip. They could never be that same team. They were good. They could make the finals and stuff, but they couldn't win it after they lost. Like it's certain little pieces that you need, and like guys that stretch the floor, like Middleton and Tucker, are great examples of that. I also think, let me see, because it's unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Twitter is down. I don't know what Elon Musk did. He didn't pay his bill, or he let one of those pop stars that he's impregnated, like, run it from her phone or something. But he has, I'm trying to find some more about it.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to find more about the different signings. But also another sports sidetrack. I know this is not about it, but
All
it is
good.
about contracts. Today is Bobby Bonilla Day. Do you know what Bobby Bonilla Day is, Brandon?
Share, share for those that
Bobby
are not
Bonilla
aware.
was signed. He was signed to the New York Mets in 2000, and they had to do some cost cutting things, and they had to pay him. They stretched out his contract, so they were like, "All right, we'll give you $1 million every year for this X amount of years to pay you your money back." Originally, they only owed him like $13 million, but when they stretched it out, they had to like stretch out the money and the weight of the money because it was so much money. The money just kept rolling over, rolling over, rolling over, becoming more money. Bobby Bonilla has been paid like $20 million since 2000, and he has another 13 years of getting paid. Today is Bobby Bonilla Day. He got $1 million from the Mets. The same people that ran the Mets were the ones that ran that Ponzi scheme and got in trouble. So these are the same people. They're not good with money, but imagine getting $1 million just because it's July the 1st. That's the best thing ever. Like, oh, it's my $1 million day, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. So that's all I got. I'm sad that Twitter's down because I would have more anecdotes about the different trades because they're easier to find on there. And then the expert analysis
Oh
is
no, for
posted there.
sure. Let me see if I can
But
pull it up
Elon
for
has
you.
ruined the internet.
No, I got you. I got you, Spills. I can pull it up for you.
Yeah.
As I said, we had it there
Um,
with the article that was there that has it all in one place. Like I said, shout out again to Basketball Forever, their website, who did their due diligence of getting
uh, it looks like Brooke Lopez
all
is
these up.
re-signing with the Bucks.
Hmm.
That's a big piece. Um,
So here you go.
we just signed D'Angelo Russell. Seth is back.
If you need to hear at a
Uh,
quick glance.
yeah, Cam Reddish. Oh, Cam Reddish signed a deal with us. Wow. We got all the players. That's right. Lakers back on top, baby.
So yeah. So we
Yeah,
have,
scroll up because these are the
there
bigger
have,
names.
what's up?
No, I'm saying keep scrolling because it's the bigger names.
Yeah. So I mean, we went through many of these folks already. So
Yeah.
just to recap, we had talked about, you just talked about Derrick Rose. We already commented on Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised about Kyrie Irving, only because of how the past season transpired, in that we have they didn't him and Luca didn't really seem to vibe very well. I'm not saying that they don't get along. I'm saying more so in terms of their respective games, where I feel Luca needs someone that is able to play off the ball, and vice versa. Kyrie needs someone who plays off the ball. Their games are too similar. It's not that they aren't supreme talents; they both are extremely talented, but you have to have players that complement off of each other, and I don't feel like they do. Unless one or the other is willing to kind of change their style of play, and I don't really see that happening. With Luca being, the younger player there, I feel like perhaps Kyrie might need to make the sacrifice and learn to kind of play off the ball versus, Luca making that adjustment on his end. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that the problem isn't really their offensive games. I think the problem is their defensive games. I think because Luca does not play defense, he can't really play with Kyrie like that because he needs someone that's going to have to play defense. And because Kyrie's such a small guard, he's a layup on people. People get buckets on him. That's what it is, unfortunately. Um, but I think that the Mavericks didn't really have a better option unless they were going to maybe this is it. Maybe they're going to trade him for Damian Lillard, but I don't see that because that's in the division. I don't see the Blazers giving their rivals a chance to win a championship by giving Dame Lillard up. Um, so I don't really know. I don't think that it's Kyrie's a great player, but he's a head case. So we'll see how long of this contract he decides to act well. But it is what it is. I just don't.
So it's similar. I
I
would
don't
say,
think
like I
so.
said, it's similar to what I was talking about with Phoenix. Like, on paper, it's cool to have all these players, playing alongside each other, but at the end of the day, do their respective games complement each other? Like, if you have someone who's very ball dominant, it makes sense, which is why it's typically the case with LeBron teams that LeBron James has had the most success with, is that if you want to have like a point forward, so to speak, then you need spot up shooters. Like, they don't need to be superstars, but they need to be capable players that can catch and shoot. Because if he's going to be getting a lot of attention defensively, you're going to by default have players that are going to be open if if you're driving and kicking out. If you have two players that are scorers, that's why I feel Kevin Durant doesn't get as much love as he should, because he doesn't need to be ball dominant to be effective. He could be off the ball, he could come off screens, like whatever you need him to do, he's capable of doing. So like you could throw him into any team, and I feel like he could be work his way and make his way compatible uh into being compatible with the team. And that's not always the case when you're bringing in someone new. Now, if I'm picturing what we were talking about with Dame Lillard, if I'm if I'm a betting man, I would say that it would make the most sense that he would end up with the Sixers. I know a lot of people are saying the Heat. It'd be awesome if he was with the Heat. If we can imagine that, I feel like it would be another incarnation of the Warriors, honestly, because they don't really have a lot of size, but they play small. But with the talent that they have there, it still would be quite a force to be reckoned with. If we're talking Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, and a Hero, and the rest of those dudes that are there. If you
Hmm.
imagine him, bringing down the ball, running the offense, and then you have Hero on the wing, you have Jimmy on the other wing, like that's not a bad lineup to have, whether you playing small or not. And if we're picturing like the drive, the effort that's there, Jimmy really being a staple there on defense for that team. And I mean, Damian Lillard, it's still someone, is going to have that drive too, because he's really trying to, work towards getting that first title. That could be an interesting situation, but I would love, it would be, it would be awesome to see, him, in my opinion, playing alongside Joel and Embiid. So
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see if he made it to Philly. That'd be great. I'd like to see him in Philly. But I've seen online they've been saying maybe the Nets, so we'll see if it's the Nets or if it's Philly. We'll see who it is.
for
But
sure.
maybe it might even be the Lakers. You never know because we be signing people, man. We be trading. We
Yeah,
just
but
signed
yet with all the
D'Angelo.
contracts that y'all have, I don't know how y'all gonna be able to fit
We're gonna get rid of
Damian
those
Lillard.
guys. We're just gonna get rid of those guys.
And y'all have a
Yeah, get
decent
them out of
core.
here.
Y'all have a decent core. I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like
the
you
core
would
is
have
nice.
to.
I don't actually. We'd have to
Yeah,
lose.
I would
We'd
feel like
lose
you would have
Rory and
to completely
Reeves probably.
shatter a lot of the
Yeah.
folks that you have gotten in the recent trade from last year in order just to secure Lillard. And is it really worth it? Especially if you're only picturing that LeBron is going to be playing a couple of more years, you still gotta, prepare for the future once Braun is gone. And now I'm
Yeah.
guessing I'll be honest, like I I'm seeing AD potentially leaving before LeBron leaves. So
No,
eh,
I don't see that. I see LeBron leaving before AD. Um, just because the age difference, you wouldn't. LeBron is LeBron. He's a great player, but you know, we're on borrowed time with him. We're really on borrowed time. I think that his career. I mean, he's been in the league 20 years. How much longer are you supposed to
but
be
I'm
paying
saying
premium dollars to a guy that's
if
been
they
in the
really
NBA
move
for
heaven
20
to earth,
years?
and I know I'm really like jumping ahead here, but if they really try to move heaven to earth to have Bronny play over there, I know they're saying right now, as it stands, and more than likely it might be the Hawks that he ends up being drafted by. But if they decide to move heaven and earth to like try to get him there, they may still bring him over. And if we're picturing that, then if they can get Bronny over there, then maybe they can negotiate some other things with LeBron, especially if he wants to continue to compete with titles. I feel like he would be willing, not to say that he would have to, but I feel like he would be willing to take a play at a discount in order to have more opportunities at titles. Because I mean, he's made a crap ton of money. He doesn't need like 50-40 million dollars to play in a given season. I'm sure all of that, a lot of that can be made up with endorsements and things like that. Like, it's not necessary. If I feel like if he had the ability to not only have his son play on the team, but also get other players that can give him opportunities to win year in and year out, he will work. He will play at a discount. And I feel like within that, if if they had the option to do that, and don't get me wrong, like I feel like there is a decent rapport between him and AD, but if it means that he has to decide between the uncertainty of AD potentially getting injured in a given season when he may be needed, whether it's in the postseason, whether it's during the season when they're trying to establish their standings, for the postseason, and deciding that versus potentially getting a couple of players for AD that could help out their team. I don't know. I don't see. I see under those circumstances AD leaving sooner than LeBron is. I understand what you're saying in terms of the age thing, but I'm thinking of just circumstance with the Bronny thing, with the opportunities and more titles, and what teams might be willing to give up in order to have an AD, regardless of the history of not being very durable. Because I mean, he's still what? He's still in his 20s, right? From what like
I
let me
think
check.
he might be 30 on the dot. He
30,
might be
30. Yeah, but I'm
maybe
saying he's still on the cusp of his prime
still in his prime.
years.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure.
so I feel like value wise, teams may be willing to give up a couple of players in order to secure secure AD. And perhaps those players are players that can have productive minutes with the Lakers in their lineup of making your team a little deeper. So, my thoughts. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it'll be interesting. Like I said, I definitely don't see in terms of the current lineup as it stands now of AD lasting there longer than LeBron does. But we'll see. It's your
Stranger
team,
things
man.
have happened.
Your
Yeah,
team.
stranger things have happened. I don't think that they would, mortgage any more of their future for LeBron. Because he's just too old. I just don't see how that. I mean,
Well,
I
no,
get
I
he's
guess
one
what
of the
I'm
greatest
saying
players of all
is,
time,
but I'm saying
but
it
I don't
works.
see the Lakers doing that because everybody talks about Bronny. I don't think Bronny's going to make the NBA. I don't think he's that good. Um, I think he's a nice D1 level talent basketball player, but I just don't think he's NBA talent. Um, but I also know that the Lakers are not the kind of a franchise to kowtow for some of those kind of demands. They don't do that kind of stuff. Like
No, but I guess what
if
I'm
he was on
saying.
the Cavs, I could see it happening. I could see him doing that with the Cavs. Like he could tell the Cavs, "Hey, you need to draft my son if you want to keep me here." The Lakers would be like, "Well, we still got that beach out there, and we still got all them titles up
I
there,
know,
so
but I
we don't
guess
need
what
to
I'm
listen to you."
saying is them releasing or say them trading AD works in their favor in both ends because even if LeBron leaves over the course of a couple of seasons, that still gives them a core of guys that still makes them competitive as they, rebuild with another franchise player. You don't want it to be a situation where kind of like what you're seeing with the Suns, where they're putting, throwing all of their chips in, just for three players. And then, if that experiment doesn't work, they're stuck in a rock and a hard place. So that's what I'm saying with the Lakers. I'm feeling like if they potentially trade out AD, that it provides an opportunity to still have a decent core of guys on their team and to free up some salary, but B, it also keeps LeBron there because that gives them an opportunity to compete for further titles. Like I feel like he would stay there if he knew that the team was competitive enough to compete, for what 4 or 5 years for a title versus not really being sure. Um, and then, like I said, another nice package of that is that on top of him being able to have players on that team that allows him to compete is maybe they'll add the extra bonus there of the situation with the Sun. Not to say that it will happen, but I'm just trying to think, you know, of how a lot of these chess pieces could work in terms of the information that we do know of what what he's seeing in terms of the future of his NBA career, the tail end of his NBA career. So we'll see, we'll see, I suppose. But did you have any last thoughts before we drop into the final story?
No, no, let's get on to it.
All right, cool. So the last story that we're going to get into deals with the DCEU. That's none other than the casting that we have for Superman and for Lois. So over the course of this week, we had the news drop that we have two new folks as our Superman and Lois, none other than David Cornswet, as well as Rachel uh, Brosnahan. Now, in terms of their prior body of work, some folks may not be familiar with these faces. They've done quite a they've done, they're not, new to the scene. They have, been on the scene in other work. Like if you've ever watched, I've watched, I don't know if you have Spillman, the Netflix series Hollywood, which was actually pretty good. And then you also have the same with Brosnahan, who has also been in quite a few projects herself. Like I said, they're not household names as of yet, but what are your thoughts on the choices that we have, for both those iconic roles of Superman, aka Clark Kent, or Clark Kent, aka Superman, and Lois Lane?
Well, I will say that this is the smallest Superman that we've gotten. I think just like Twilight Batman, we're going for a more felt superhero now. We're not going for the super muscles of the '80s like we used to have with their Stallones and their Arnold Schwarzeneggers. This is an interesting pick for me because I don't feel like Henry Cavill, when you look at him, looks much more like a Superman type than this guy. What's his name? David Cron. So, he's an okay actor. I've liked his work. I liked him in the things I've seen, and I like the Lois Lane character. She's a great actress. I liked her in
The Marvelous Mrs.
House of
Maisel.
Cards. House of Cards
Okay,
is
yeah,
where
I
I
do
saw her.
remember from House of Cards. See,
She's in
that's still
House of
one thing
Cards.
that I have not watched, and I know a lot of people are like,
Well,
"What?
it's
You have
crazy.
not watched the show?"
It's
And
so
I get
many
that all
like,
the
oh
time.
wow,
And I
they're around the
still have
corner
not
type
watched The
type vibes.
Marvelous
Yeah,
Mrs. Maisel yet. So,
yeah.
yes, shame on me that I have not seen it yet. I haven't watched it. I do recall House of Cards. I know, I know, I know.
Shame,
Um, yeah, I know.
shame,
Shame, shame.
shame.
But I mean, there are quite a shows like that. Like, believe it or not, like I'm not caught up on all of Doctor Who, and I know that we have a lot of folks out there who love Doctor
Oh
Who,
man, don't
and
you
I've
say that on
tried.
the
I've
don't you say
really
that on Al
tried.
Gore's internet. They're gonna get you.
Yeah, I really tried. Trust me, y'all. I have tried, and yeah, and you have those shows like that you just can't rock with, and you make every attempt and effort to do so. And then I have shows, of course, that I watch that I'm like, you've never watched that, like Billions. Like Billions is
Oh yeah, love that.
Billions
Love
is
that
hidden.
show.
But anyway, I digress. We have two cornerstones, so to speak, in James Gunn's new DCEU. I mean, off the bat, one thing that we can say is that both actors, they look like the characters. We can at least say that. A lot of times when we have situations like this, but I'm saying,
I feel like he looks like the most believable Clark Kent we've had. Like all the other guys look like Superman as Clark Kent. He looks like Clark Kent as Superman. I think that's a good change because
well, so okay, so I'll say this. With the two characters that we have here, as I said, one of the main gripes that a lot of people have right off the bat, and they'll say that the characters don't look like the characters they're supposed to play. In that regard, I feel like they've done. We have the the two actors that we have here, that they resemble those iconic characters that we known, and that are so iconic. Um, Time will tell to see how it actually works. Just on paper, it seems perfectly fine, but I'm just curious to see the aesthetic that they go for. When I'm thinking of James Gunn, and James Gunn has demonstrated time and time again, his affinity for being able to direct outstanding films that are adapted from superhero properties. I mean, we can go over Guardians of the Galaxy, we can go over Suicide Squad. The list goes on and on. So he's demonstrated previously that he has a handle of films like this. Is just I'm just curious how that will work in the context of Superman, because I feel like the other characters that have he's been really great at have been characters that are kind of like misfits and despicable, kind of, in some ways, versus someone who is such a Boy Scout, so to speak. I know that's the moniker that he always gets, Superman. It'll be interesting to see how he tackles that with this type of character that I feel like doesn't really have those qualities in other superhero films that he has done. So
yeah.
so we'll see. And then the chemistry, of course, has to be there. So apparently, I mean, I'm assuming based off of if we have these two actors here, that the chemistry that we had there was pretty remarkable. Time will tell when we see it on the big screen, or when we see that first trailer. But I'm
We'll
glad
see.
that we have, yeah, I'm glad that we have the two actors. It's funny that we, got the news this week. Typically on something like this normally ends up being an announcement made at certain shows. Maybe I'm
Oh
thinking,
yeah, that thing that comes up every year. What's
yeah,
it
that
called
thing that
again?
comes up every year, like
I think
Comic-Con. But I'm
yeah.
guessing maybe we got that news this week because we ain't gonna, because there's not gonna be the opportunity to have them come on stage at Comic Con. So that part of it is a bummer. But it is fascinating that something like this just ended up just being kind of, it felt like kind of like just a run of a mill story versus something that was like, I don't feel like it was like blasting or didn't have the virality that we normally see in situations like this. So still, glad that they had that pinned down, for those characters. So now we can finally move forward with the production. Because I'll be honest, I kind of got tired of hearing, oh well, they're doing screen tests of all of these, lineup of actors, but they still haven't, decided who their choice is. Now that we have the choices, we can move on and get on with the production. So, last thoughts before we wrap up here.
Again, I don't know about this Superman, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't seem very super to me. He seems just man. Um, I I'd like to see him once he bulks up, but I imagine they're going to give him plastic muscles, which will make him look stronger, but also weaker at the same
I'm
time.
sure they want to have him, bulk up for the role. I'm not concerned with that. If I'm thinking of, if I'm picturing all the other actors that have played Superman, they were not in the shape that they were in prior to taking the part. They
I don't
got
know.
into that
I
shape
feel
for the
like
role.
Henry Cavill was definitely Superman size before he
No, he
played
wasn't
Superman.
actually.
Because he
No, he
was in that
wasn't
man
actually.
called Uncle. He was all shoulders in that movie. Like he
Right,
didn't look
right. But I'm saying that came later. The
perhaps,
films that
but
he
I
was
mean, it
in.
just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like he doesn't look like he could play on your high school football team to me. And I always felt like Superman always looked like a guy who, if he wanted to, could just go out there and catch a few
you
passes. And
you
he
get
doesn't
you get
seem
the
like
right nutritionist, man. You get those,
maybe
you
maybe
get
he's going to get
those
there.
those celeb
Sure,
celeb nutritionists for
we'll
those types
see.
of roles
We'll
that
see.
where you have actors getting into superhero shape. Like I said, I'm not concerned about that part of it, of him looking the part. Like it, I'm sure that they will do that. He will do the excuse me, the due diligence, and I'm sure that they're giving him the right resources to be able to accomplish that feat. Because we already know that, there's already that expectation with all the other iterations that we've had of Superman of what is expected. So I'm sure they're going to take care of that part. Like I said, my thing that I am curious about, the aesthetic, like how the feel of the movie is going to be, um, what the not only how the world of of this Superman is going to look like and feel like, how the characters are going to interact with each other, and all, and how they're going to weave in some of the other components that we already know based off of what James Gunn has announced, what how they're going to weave in all these other components seamlessly to establish this new universe that they're building. So, but as I said, with that being said, that is our last story. Oh, you have any other
That's it.
last thoughts? Sound like
No,
you
that's it. I got it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't. We'll see. We'll see, but this
you
might
don't
be
seem too
another
convinced. It's
bad
okay.
casting choice by DC. It might be another bad casting choice, like when they casted Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern instead of the Flash. Like he was right there. He was right there. DCEU. He's right there. You got to pick people. If he's a funny type guy, don't make him a jet pilot. Jet pilots are funny type guys. That's not how they work. They're kind of sociopathic. You got to find somebody that works
Yeah, he
like
would have been
that.
a better Flash, honestly.
100% better
He
Flash.
would
Like
have
I
been
don't
a better
understand
Flash.
how they even pitched that to him.
Yeah.
He was even trying to make jokes in the movie, and it just didn't work. So I, we'll see with this casting. They do it all the time where they miscast people and then they just bounce them out the movie, act like it didn't even happen. Jared Leto, but I'm just gonna leave it alone. But
I don't join you in that regard. I thought Jared Leto did brought an interesting take to the Joker. So I will say that. And the only
okay, yeah,
reason why I also say that is because the editing plays such a huge role in
Editing.
a given film, and what we got in the Suicide Squad paired in comparison to what we got in the Snyder Cut, and what I saw of the extended footage that was originally supposed to be in Suicide Squad. So, um, and having what we had with that theatrical cut completely changed the dynamic of how the Joker worked in that movie. But conversation for another day. Like I said, we have to agree to disagree on that one.
Hmm.
But with that said, like I said, thank you guys so much for joining us on this week in review of talking some of these news bits. As I said, if you enjoy or like to get caught up on a lot of these things, make sure you follow us, and whether it's on Twitter or Instagram, and you can find us, of course, on here on YouTube. But with that, I will pass it to you, Spillman. Go ahead.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this 4th of July, please put your dogs in the house. Don't let the dogs get scared. You know, you know, kiss your grandmother when you see her. Make sure if you're drinking alcoholic beverages around that young lady, put it in a red Solo cup. Don't let your grandma see you drinking that liquor. She don't want to see that. That'll make her cry. Don't make your grandmother cry, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great 4th of July. Check me out on Instagram, Truly Spill. I'm there. I'm still having fun. I'm not impersonating you. So if I ask you for personal information, that is not me. That's a clone of some sort. Don't let him do that to you. But have a great 4th of July. Remember, give us 5 stars, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we need. And write us a nice review. Back to you, Brandon.
Cool. So again, I want to thank Spillman for hopping on as usual. Every single week for this week in review, you can find me on Twitter at Brandon Choi ENT, which you see down below, but also Brandon Choi _ ENT on Instagram. And of course, you can find Movers and Shakers Unlimited on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, and Movers Shakers Unlimited on Instagram. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. Oh, and let me also mention this as well before I hop off. Make sure that you are with us tomorrow. Every Sunday, we will be doing an episode review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as well as our breakdown of the most recent episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to have our breakdown with Star Trek tomorrow at 11:30, and then we will have our breakdown of Secret Invasion at 12:30 directly following. So, yes, with all of that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon.
Peace, 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 peace. 5 stars, guys. 5 stars, 5 stars.